Welcome to the Cash Bar. How are you, Diane?
Good. I miss you. We're not in the same room again.
I miss you too. I'm sorry. I couldn't get down to the studio today, so we're doing it over Zoom. Traditional pandemic rules.
Yeah,
The traditional pandemic rules, Cash Bar. I heard the most fucked up story I think I've ever heard in my life this week.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Are you? Are
Yeah.
you sure?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You were at one point in your life a cocktail waitress in a breast establishment, in a
Yes.
titty bar, in
Yes, I
a
was.
men's exotic review.
For like a
This
whole
story,
month.
the story comes from there. There's a woman that I work with who used to be a dancer, and now she's a bartender. And she told me this story that's like right out of a David Lynch film. Like it just couldn't have been more bizarre. Apparently, and I'm just going to jump right into it. I apologize. It's a little rude, but apparently there was a guy who used to go into the place that she worked, the Colorado in Houston, and he was like me, a tall, skinny Texan dude. But he like lived it up. Like he had like the white cowboy hat, and he would get all dolled up when he would go to the Colorado. He would put on his bolo tie and his nice, freshly pressed white shirt, and he would go be a
Stetson
long,
cologne.
cool Stetson cologne. Yeah, you know the type. Like he's out tomcatting. So he would go in, and he had his favorite dancer who was a lot younger than him. And his thing was he would just lean against the bar, and he would sip his Coors Light, and he would put his hat on her head, and he would watch her dance on the stage from the bar. And that was his happy time.
All
That
right.
was his day, right? Like, so
All
he was
right.
going to spend a couple of $100 doing this. And he was a regular. He did it all the time. Then one day he comes in, everything's going as normal. She gets on stage wearing his hat. She starts to dance. She takes off her clothes. He puts a gun in his mouth and blows his head off. Like,
Is this recent?
no, this was like 20 years ago.
Oh,
Like it
okay.
was, yeah. So it's just just like it just feels like something out of like a thriller, out of a movie. Like I couldn't believe this story. Like you've got to be kidding me. Like what? Like everything must have stopped. It must have been just like it's his happy place. Like he just wanted to go out on top. This is his thing. This is the end of it. Okay. But here's
Oh,
the
but
thing.
somebody has to clean that up. It's so rude. It's so fucking rude. I'm just thinking, like, I was the girl that rolled the napkins into the forks. Like, I'd probably have to sweep that up.
Yeah, and they're also probably not going to stop. I mean, a lot of people are trying to pay their rent that day, so it's like, all right, don't pay attention. We'll just clean up on aisle two, and here we go. But I was
Move
thinking,
everything to the VIP room.
yeah, we'll shift our focus over to the second stage. But I was thinking that, like, if it was in a David Lynch movie, there would be that moment of sort of like feral panic, where it was like, what just happened, and then it would just cut to like some other character who would have to like do the line that's like the end scene, the exit line. So I guess my writer's exercise to you would be, what's that line?
Send lawyers, guns, and money. No. What's yours? Do you have one? I bet you have one.
Of course I do. I think the camera pans over all the mess on the bottles in the back bar and everything like that, and then it just cuts to some guy who's also sipping a beer and just leaning on the bar, and he just goes, he's a complicated man. His mind's on a lot of things. All right, thank you
Nice.
very much. I
Nice
spent all
job,
day
man.
on it. I have 147 other lines. I'm sorry. Hey,
Yes.
that was just because we're talking about bad men today. Today's episode is Warren Zevon.
Yes.
Warren Zevon is a favorite of mine. I love his wild man antics. I love all the wild man Warren Zevon stories. And then the more research I did, the more I realized like how incredibly destructive it can be.
Yep.
Reading about Warren Zevon for a week just made me want to be a better man.
Oh, that's good, Ben, because if you'd read it in your 20s, you would have wanted to be like him and Hunter S. Thompson.
We've got a guest today. We have comedian Nate Abshire from Minneapolis. He's the winner of the Coast to Coast Roast. Live from Minneapolis. Nate, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing? Sorry, it's great. It's great to be here. It was really hard not to laugh during your story about the guy killing himself. That's not a sentence I say often.
I felt terrible, but I was told that story and I just couldn't get it out of my head. I was just like, that's just like, I just saw it like cinema. Like it was just a movie playing in my brain.
Yeah, he definitely got it out of his head, but don't do it that way.
It's such a Boogie Nights moment, you know? Like you're just like, oh shit. Shit.
Yeah. Oh my
I feel
God.
like that's the alternate start to Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
It's just a one scene show.
Oh my God. It's a great
So
story. I'm really surprised that someone didn't just steal exactly that and have it be the Tarantino opening to a movie, you know?
Right.
oh man,
Yeah.
yeah, I intend to. It's just so cinematic and so awful in every single way.
Yeah.
So we are here to talk about lawyers, guns, and money.
I'm
Lawyers,
excited.
guns, and money. Okay, yeah, Nate. Nate picked this song. So tell us, out of all the songs you could have chosen, why did you pick this one?
I love the vibe of this song, and I think that this song sort of highlights the best of Warren Zevon in my mind. Where it's like a little wacky and a little funky and also kind of feels like a detective novel.
Yeah.
Like I just love, and it also, the song also speaks to me at a very deep level. Like as someone who has only dated waitresses for the last 10 years, the opening of the song really hits me. Also, like I have a lot of really good memories of Warren Zevon because he's like one of the only good bands that my dad listened to.
Oh, that's fun.
One of the only ones that stayed with me. You know, I also still have like, you know, there's other, but yeah, it's Warren Zevon's just, I just love the vibe, I guess.
That's funny that you say that because like my dad was a big classic rock guy. So I grew up with Deep Purple and old Aerosmith and Skynyrd, definitely because we're Texans, definitely some Skynyrd. And I didn't know who Warren Zevon was, I don't think until my late 20s. And I had always heard of the song Werewolves of London. And I'm just gonna admit something now out loud, and my husband's gonna hear this and get really mad. I fucking hate that song. I'm like, what is this dumb shit? I appreciate it a little more now after learning everything about Warren Zevon, but my only association to Warren Zevon was that song, so I just kind of blew it off. Like, I didn't know that he sang this song, and I didn't know that he sang Keep Me in Your Heart for a While, which I love. And, you know, I didn't know that he wrote so many songs that were successful with other singers. So now I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should go back and listen to it and understand the silliness of it, you know?
Yeah.
Did you hear his great quote about Werewolves in London?
What? No.
He goes, it's a dumb song for smart people.
Maybe I'm just dumb.
No, I don't think that's it at all.
It's definitely a dumb song, but it's a dumb song in the like,
he knows
it almost feels like a They Might Be Giants B-side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
It also fits, like, I can't talk about Werewolves of London without talking about Tom Cruise and The Color of Money.
Yeah.
Like, for the longest time, I thought that song had to be written for that movie and for that scene. It's just so perfect.
God, I haven't seen that movie in years.
I first heard Werewolves of London as like a child. My dad played it for me on cassette. He was like, you got to check this song out. And like, as a kid, I was like, this is great.
So hold on, before I have a little thing to say about this song. So having only known Warren as that, I never listened to the full lyrics of Lawyers, Guns, and Money. And honestly, when I heard the chorus, I thought he was like singing its praises. Like I didn't hear him saying send. I thought he was saying, I said lawyers, guns, and money. Like he was like, hell yeah.
Like
and
he's just trying to be American as fuck, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I thought this song was, because I never paid attention. And so, like, you know, the state motto of Texas is friendship, but it could easily be lawyers, guns, and money. And so it wasn't until I finally listened to the song and I was like, oh, he's saying send lawyer. Okay, there's more. This song is interesting. And so, all right, let's get into the lyrics and find out what the song is actually about.
That's great. I love that. Like to me, once you know, no, sorry, but like once you know that he's like, the song really reads almost as an indictment of privileged people.
Yeah.
Even though he's the son of a bookie.
I mean,
writing it.
Mind blown. It changes everything.
but at the same time, it's so self-aware that's one thing that really, like, being self-aware without being pedantic about it, to me, is like the height of art.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I really love about this song. Okay, Ben, I cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off at all. I was just saying, let's just jump right into it. My favorite opening of, I think, of any song that we've done. I can't think of a better one. I went home with the waitress, the way I always do.
I think you guys can relate.
A bit of a humble brag on his part, if I'm being honest.
For sure.
Because there's also two ways to take that sentence, right? You could take it as, I went home with a waitress the way that I only ever go home with someone.
Yeah.
Or he's saying, every time I go somewhere where there's a waitress, she comes home with me.
It's such a comedy connection. Like, every stand-up comedian connects with that line so hard.
Yeah.
It's a joke inside of a joke. I went home with a waitress the way I always do. And the next line is, how was I to know she was with the Russians too? So it's like that, like every stand-up dreams of that, where you tell the joke and the audience thinks that's the end of the joke, but no, you have the topper punchline coming over the top.
Yeah, he's the only songwriter that tags his own lyrics.
Yes.
It's pretty great.
But I also love that second line.
Yeah, how was I to know she was with the Russians too?
Yeah, because that one also, like, which way do you guys read that? Do you read it that she was with the Russians as well as the last one? Or she was with the Russians and so am I?
I read it.
Ooh.
Oh, no, I didn't read it as he was. I read it as he was already in trouble with the Russians and he's like, fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I mean, that's definitely the way it's intended, right?
Yes. And yeah, I took it that way.
No, it's more interesting the other way, though.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. It's definitely like spy novel, totally crime novel. That's what was interesting about reading about Warren Zevon, is he was a big fan of a writer named Ross MacDonald, who wrote the Lou Archer novels. And that was like he just absorbed all of those. That was so his songs are deeply informed by film noir writing. So he's coming from that spot to begin with. It's just fascinated me that he's just kind of thrown all that into the songwriters mix.
He also was so like fiction adjacent, especially later in his career, where he was like running bands with a bunch of famous authors and things like that.
I can't wait to talk about that. That blew my mind more than anyone else. That collaboration he has with all these writers that do that show once a year. I was like, what? Like, I have to see this.
It's very weird, but it's also, the thing I love about that sort of connection is, like, it's so apparent what a great writer he was.
That other writers want to hang out with him.
Well, also but the rest of his skill set is like, pretty good.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you were gonna be like this. I was like, what?
It's pretty awesome. Good. I mean, it's not. He's like, I'm not saying Warren Zevon's not a genius, but most of his eggs are in the writing basket. Like, I think that there's easily, like, the universe where it's still Berenstein Bears.
Yeah.
He's a novel writer that's in Macaulay Culkin's pizza band. And he's still alive.
Oh my God.
And Bernie got elected in 2016.
Oh my God.
And, like, things are okay.
This is the greatest wormhole ever.
But I love that sort of, like, he probably just burned so many rough drafts of crime novels.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something else.
and then was like, fuck it, I'll just write songs. You know what I mean? It's just the vibe I get.
I think he could have been the full out genius in everything he did if he didn't shoot himself in the foot so much, if he wasn't so self-destructive.
Oh, I think that's more of evidence of genius, but that's probably like a personal wish for me. Or like, I think that getting in your own way is a symptom of just the world can't handle me. I'm too
I love it.
I was gambling in Havana. I took a little risk. Send lawyers, guns, and money. Dad, get me out of this. That's not self-awareness that you're talking about. It's like, Dad, get me out of it. It doesn't have to be Dad. Like,
I was talking. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it could have been like he could have been calling his lawyer or his assistant or his manager or something, like a little more like in charge, a little more masculine. Like, I love the way that he makes his character just like, no, Dad, help me.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how you know it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The situation is not totally fucked up until you're calling mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly. You don't fear for your life if you're just calling your lawyer. When you call daddy, you're like, I mean, I'm gonna die. Like, get me out of this. Send
Also,
everything.
Gambling in Havana is such an evocative, like, I feel like that says more than if he had a whole verse about gambling with the mafia in Chicago, even though it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just gambling in Havana. I'm like, oh dear.
What the fuck were you doing there, white boy? You
sounds like some deer hunter shit.
And we're 3 lines in. Like, you're 3 lines in, you have the full picture of like the texture of this man, who he is, what he's up to, all the horrible things that could befall him.
Also, all his own doing.
Yeah, yes.
You know, typical rich kid fashion, 100% his fault.
Yeah.
And deliberately, nobody gets to Havana by accident, not for America.
Right.
You got to work it to get there.
Yeah, it's funny just reading these lyrics and being like, okay, we got a white boy who thought he was invincible and then got himself in a little bit of trouble in another country. So when he says, Dad, get me out of this, you just picture like some high-tech CEO or, you know, some dad of a spoiled kid. But when you learn the history of Warren Zevon and like his dad was a bookie for Mickey fucking Cohen, and you're like, oh no, his dad can get him out of this. This is a totally different thing now.
Yeah, his dad's gonna get on a rotary phone and make some shit happen.
Like I'm worried about the Havanans now. I don't know if that's what they are called.
I like how, like, I read these Rolling Stone articles that just sort of hinted, they just said that Warren Zevon's father was a professional gambler and he still makes his living doing that. And it wasn't until like I started digging a little deeper, I was like, oh no, he's connected to Mickey Cohen, the most notorious LA gangster. And then you read a little bit more like, oh, he wasn't connected to Mickey Cohen. He was Mickey Cohen's best man at his wedding.
Yeah, like real connected.
Yeah.
At his first wedding. I love that distinction.
Yeah, that's a good
The first wedding is the one that matters. And we all know that the decisions for your best man after your first wedding are largely political.
So.
All right, let's keep going. There's not a whole lot of lyrics here, but there's a lot to say.
But there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I'm the innocent bystander. Somehow I got stuck between the rock and the hard place, and I'm down on my luck. This goes to what you were saying about this being just a privileged white kid, because that's totally the privileged white kid reaction to getting called out on your own bullshit. Like, hey, man, I'm innocent. Everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're singling me out.
I was just here.
Yeah, it was the cards. I just, you know, I like the it to me that it just lends a little realism to, because here's the part where he's clearly downplaying his involvement and blame for his dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Where he's like, it's, you know, it's not my fault, but I need a lot of help.
Yeah.
Literally everything you can do.
I mean, there's really nothing but lawyer. Like, if you're in trouble and lawyers, guns, and money doesn't fix it, I don't know what that looks like, but it's not great.
No,
like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a perfect phrase. I mean, it's just absolutely everything. Things are as bad.
It reminds me of there's a subreddit that's all about self-help, where people like, they write in their issue, and the advice that is always given to them is quit Facebook, lawyer up, hit the gym.
Oh, okay.
Like, it just reminds me of that, where it's like, that's like when shit gets really bad, like that's all you can really do. Like, you know what I mean?
There's no like, see a therapist. Or,
no. Quit Facebook.
People are so mean. I'm surprised to like hit the gym.
Well, it's not a weight loss thing. I think that honestly, like, I mean, this is definitely getting sidetracked, but I think that quitting Facebook is better for anyone's mental health than seeing a therapist.
I would totally agree with you. And I would extend that to the whole smartphone universe.
Yeah.
Our friend Paul Odo, I think, tweeted yesterday if they would disable the comments on any comment thread all around the world for a full year, all of our problems would be fixed.
Oh
I'm
man,
like, he's not wrong.
not at all.
All
now
right.
I'm hiding in Honduras.
Again.
I'm a desperate man. Send lawyers, guns, and money. The shit has hit the fan. It's just such a great phrase to say. You have to hit it as hard as you can. We say, send lawyers, guns, and money.
It's a great one.
I like how he didn't learn from the first one.
Right. Like somehow he thought that going from Havana to Honduras was going to improve his situation.
He didn't quit Facebook, apparently. He joined Twitter, and now he's even in more trouble.
Well, it seems, yeah, I don't know. It's a strange narrative because he was in trouble in Havana and kept going south, essentially.
Yeah.
Where he's clearly from the States, so it's so bad he can't go home.
Yeah. Well, there's no fun at home. Obviously, this guy's out for the thrill. So basically, that's the end of the song. He just saying, "Send lawyers, guns, and money."
Yeah.
That's the story. No idea what happened to him. No idea when he's coming back.
I like how it ends like that. Like the song doesn't get wrapped up with a pretty bow. It's his pleading for help until the song ends.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely.
A film noir in 6 lines.
Yep. It's really good. I'm really happy with that.
So what do we know about Warren Zevon except that he is far and away in this rogues gallery of men that we've talked about over almost 80 episodes? Far and away the drunkest. Far and away.
Hold on. We did do the Pogues. Are you sure you want to?
Yes.
Yep. All right.
Drunker than the Pogues, drunker than the replacements. Drunk.
One of the things that's really interesting to me about Zevon is the way his sound changed from his first album to his second, where it goes from like almost like kind of, I don't know, like it's bluesy, but with a little rock and roll in the first album. But it reminds me a lot of Waits's first album. And then his second album, he's living with half of Fleetwood Mac. And the sound completely changes. And like you can hear Fleetwood Mac in the whole album, but more so on like the first hits from his second album, from his self-titled. And that is such an amazing, like, I just like to imagine the scenario where he never meets Stevie Nicks and the guy's name I forget, Lindsay.
Lindsay Buckingham.
Yeah. So he never meets them, and his songwriting is all like he just becomes a songwriter and never really gets mainstream acclaim from his music. It's an interesting like thing to think about how that goes different. But it's also so amazing to be reading about Zevon and be like, oh, so he moved in with half of Fleetwood Mac in 1975. Huh? What fucking luck.
Exactly. We did a Fleetwood Mac episode, and God, I hate to say it, but they're fun.
They are. I love that band.
That's a good time. I have a whole theory about what the snow-covered hill in Landslide was, and it had nothing to do with her daddy. That's cocaine on a mirror, and you're not going to convince me otherwise.
Yeah, that band's one of the few where their music was legitimately the best when they were all the most miserable people in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Although Zevon might take a run at that.
Yes.
Right? Like one of the things that's the most amazing to me about him is that he wrote Keep Me in Your Heart for a while after a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like, that is so fucking dark to me and so amazing. Like, you get a cancer diagnosis and you're not like, I guess I'll spend some time with my family for the last couple months. He was like, nah, I'm going to finish this album and try to see the next James Bond movie. Like, what a fucking badass. then you write a song about how you're dying. It has no forever in it, right?
Mm.
There's no like, I'll be with you or anything like that. It's just like, think about me for a little bit. I'm out. Like, that's the vibe of the song.
After learning about this guy, I expect nothing less.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that he did that.
I can see him like thinking that like all the pain that he caused is very likely to last forever. So it's almost like keep me in your heart for a while is his way of just saying, and when you get to the end, if you can find a way to the end of that pain, just let me go. Just let me go. Like, I know I did a lot of damage. Daddy's sorry.
Yeah.
So Ben, I didn't do the level of research on Zevon's life that you did, because you said you went from like loving this guy to being like, he kind of hurt some people. So why don't you tell me about it?
Well, he started off, he's a California kid. He bounced around a bit. He's got an interesting life. His mother was a Mormon, and like a very clean living, like Utah Mormon. And somehow she fell in with this guy who's just a straight up gangster. He's a German Jewish guy who's hooked up with Mickey Cohen, and everything says that he's a professional gangster, but he's not. Like, he's obviously a bookmaker with the Mickey Cohen rackets. And there's these stories that kind of tie into Lawyers, Guns, and Money with the Dad Get Me Out of This, where like at one point when he was really young, he's just a teenager, he gets kicked out of school, as these guys often do, and he goes to New York because he wants to be a folk singer. This is the early 60s. It's like the Bob Dylan era. So he's going to Greenwich Village with his acoustic guitar. Well, he's going to Greenwich Village with an acoustic guitar in a car that his dad won in a poker game, right? Like, I've seen The Sopranos. Like, Dad did not win the car in the poker game. Like, somebody got in debt to Dad, and Dad went and squeezed balls until that car popped loose. It's more than a little crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think he knew at that age?
Not at that age, but
No?
I think he must. No, I don't think so. I think he must have known that Dad was a gambler and that, Dad was in the sporting life, as they say. But he probably didn't know until, you don't make that connection until much later on, do you?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that it takes a while to figure out, because my dad's a regular guy, and I wasn't in my 20s till I figured out he was a regular guy.
Yeah.
It's like the great David Tell joke. You know how when you're growing up, you think your dad's Superman, and then you realize he's just a drunk who wears a cape.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It takes you. I mean, it took me 20 plus years to be like, oh, I get it. You're a normal person that has a lot of incorrect opinions.
Yeah. Yep. And then it's like in your 40s when you really start butting heads with those opinions.
So Warren Zevon is a folkie in New York who's making a little bit of a name for himself, and then he meets a record producer whose name is in my notes somewhere, and I won't be able to find it.
Is that the giant guy?
Yeah, this is the guy who gives him the great quote as they're signing him to his first record deal in like 1969. He asks him, like, "Are you ready to wear leather chains and fuck a lot of teenage girls, make a lot of money?" Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, I am.
Oh no. Oh no.
They're kind of setting them on the path a little bit from an early age.
Like, all right. That's hard to say no to, I guess.
His first album kind of barely makes a dent. He writes a couple of songs. The Turtles pick up a song of his, and he ends up falling in the early 70s with the Everly Brothers, and he's like their band leader. He's like their music director. Like, he's more than just a touring or a session musician with them. He's making arrangements, and he's really putting it together for them. And through the Everly Brothers, that's where he meets the world. Like he meets Jackson Browne, and he meets Bruce Springsteen, he meets Tom Petty, he meets and the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac. So he meets all of the people who are eventually going to become his support system, and they all react to him as the genius that he is. Like, he's the one who's writing these incredibly unique songs, these incredible songs that really nobody else could do. Like, Warren Zevon couldn't be like Chris Christopherson, like a songwriter who's just like, well, this would be a good one for you, Bruce. This would be like these are Warren Zevon songs. If you're not the son of a gambler, you can't sing Lawyers, Guns, and Money. It's going to be inauthentic. It ain't coming up.
Yeah.
So he kind of has to be his own thing. He ends up moving to Spain where he's kind of like he's doing sort of the artist thing where there are people who love him and believe in him. So there's a friend of his owns a performance venue in Spain. So they're just like, okay, you can come out and you live with me, in the upstairs apartment or whatever, and then you just play here at night. So he's getting paid, but he's not getting paid much. And it sounds like fabulous, like, oh, he lived in Spain for a while, but he's not. He's definitely on the skids. And while he's there, he's writing all of these songs. He's writing Lawyers, Guns, and Money. He's writing Werewolves of London. He's writing the ones that are going to become his big hits. Meanwhile, back in LA, Jackson Browne is really going to bat for Warren Zevon. Like Jackson Browne is playing tapes and singing his praises. And eventually Jackson Browne gets Warren Zevon a record deal. And Warren Zevon comes back to the United States, records that album. Werewolves of London is a pretty big hit. Like it gets up into the 20s. And that's when he's always been a hard drinker at this point, but that's when the explosion comes. Now he's got his own money and it's just off the deep end.
Yeah, you can't get your own money too young.
Yeah.
Like I'm really glad that my career I hope it takes off at some point, but I'm glad it didn't take off in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Also, I think that Spain, like, I don't really know how much he was playing when he was in Spain, but I think that had a lot to do with how good he got.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just the time he spent playing.
Just able to sharpen.
The whole 10,000 hours thing, like when the Beatles did that gig at the
Beatles in Hamburg.
Yeah. Yeah, where they were playing like 8 hours a night or something ridiculous for like months. Like that's just so insane. But that's what, that's how proficiency happens. But,
yeah. Musical proficiency. I think if you took somebody and had them go up like, okay, you're gonna do 8 hours of comedy at night, they would be so fucking horrible a year later.
Oh man, you want to see someone give the fuck up.
But that's when you get good.
That's like
when you don't care at all about the audience anymore is when you get it.
If you want to see someone not give a shit, go to the third show on a Saturday night at a comedy club.
Yeah.
Not gonna phone it in tonight. Remember the famous Steve Martin Saturday Night Live?
You just start punishing them. Like, oh, you don't like that? Here's
I just get real honest. I'm like, look, I don't know what you guys want from me right now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hurt you with my darkest thoughts now.
It must have happened. I'm sure it's every comedian's fear. It was always mine when I was doing 3 shows. Would be like, have I done this bit on this show already?
I have that thought on a 2-show night, but on a 3-show night, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Like every joke, I'm like, did I do this one yet? Sometimes I'll just ask them, like, did I do the one about the bike shop? And then there's always one asshole in the crowd that's like, yes. And I'm like, no, you're fucking.
So when does he get married? Like, what's the timeline here?
Over and over and over again.
When's the first one? Where he had this baby.
Hang on. He got married for his first wife, or his first wife was a woman named well, I don't think he got married to her. Her name was Thule Livingston. And she's the first woman that he has a child with. His son Jordan is with her. Okay. And they split shortly after she gives birth. And this is like late 60s. Okay. So before he goes to Spain. And he's a totally absent father. Like he doesn't reconnect with his kids until they get into adulthood. So he breaks up with it's the best way to do it.
He's like, listen, buddy, I did you a favor.
I'll see you in 20 years when you can have a conversation like a normal person.
You imagine looking at your pregnant spouse and just being like, okay, the first 6 years are on you. I'll take the rest of it.
Yes. I just spent a week with my 7-year-old and I'm just gonna be like, can we just fast forward to where we don't have to talk about this anymore? Okay. Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna go off the charts if we don't move on from my.
I'll take the first 10 years. Corbin can have the next 10 years, and then he's on his own, and then he's just cut off.
I cannot play video games all day. I cannot do it, and he will not stop asking me.
Just a good parenting plan. So my research into Warren Zevon started out by watching this documentary on VH1 that was entirely about his process after his cancer diagnosis, because Yeah, he has Werewolves of London. He has Lawyers, Guns, and Money, and he's basically like a cult guy. Like he's he's the one that, like, in interviews, like Bruce Springsteen will recommend Warren Zevon, Jackson Brown recommends Warren Zevon, but he doesn't have these big, like, commercial hits. Like being included in The Color of Money is a big payday for him. He's not making a whole lot of money. He's doing fine, but he's playing small gigs and things pretty much throughout the rest of his life. Then he gets this cancer diagnosis. He announces it. And because he's trying to leave behind as much money as he can for his family and no doubt look after his own legacy, he calls up his manager and he says, I have cancer and I give you full permission to do whatever you need to do with that diagnosis to make some money.
Oh my God. Use it. So, drain it. Yeah.
And it's kind of a crazy story because he never went to the doctor because he's a heavy smoker and a drinker for most of his life and a drug user. So he's kind of afraid of the doctor. So he went in and he got the diagnosis like literally all at once. There was no build up to it or anything like that. He was just really, really short of breath. He's like asking, I forget, I think he was like in Colorado or something like that. And he's asking like what the altitude is. And he can't even really sing. So they take him to a cardiologist the next day, and the cardiologist refers him. They do whatever test it is, and they're just like, okay, you have mesothelioma. You have about 3 months to live. And he's just
Wasn't he friends with his dentist, and he did confide in his dentist, and his dentist was like, you have to go see a cardiologist.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Right away.
Yeah.
I love a guy that goes to the dentist but not the doctor. It's like a guy that's like putting brand new siding on a house that's falling apart on the inside. It's like, but these new gutters.
I'm such a I think I'm sick all the time. What's a hypochondriac? I'll even like slip questions to my vet. Like, do you does that happen in humans too?
That's super funny.
I couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah, I call my doctor just to chat, keep the line open.
Oh yeah. Hey,
what's going on with
you,
you,
have
man?
your number. Can we text? Yeah.
I'm like, hey doctor, you up?
His wife thinks it's an affair, and it's like, no, she's obnoxious. She's wanting me to see her rash again.
I think one of the things that's so funny to me about Zevon's life, and a lot of rock and roll stars from that era especially, is that like now we look back at it and we're like, oh man, turns out being cool isn't that cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it turns out being cool is incredibly painful. Like nobody can live like that.
It's so
bad.
And it's weird too to grow up. I was born in the 80s, so I kind of grew up mostly in the 90s, and like we came up idolizing those people.
Yeah.
Me and Ben
like
all the time. Ben,
not specifically Zevon.
Sorry, no, ours was like Morrissey and like
like people that were still modeled after this same like rock and roll star that destroys hotel rooms type vibe, right?
Oh yeah.
Or just like, just destroys whatever, and you're like, man, what a badass. It turns out like, but
and it's so susceptible, like, especially to young men. Like when I was in my late teens, my early 20s, I fell in love with Hunter Thompson. Like and Hunter Thompson and Zevon were tight. They're basically the same guy,
Right,
just absolutely wild men on drugs and booze. And I always thought of it as just like, well, that's the creativity, like struggling to get free. That's the artistic burden. That's the you have to have sympathy for these guys. Then you get older and you realize like, no, they're just assholes.
Yeah.
I think that one of the most destructive sort of ideas to the arts in general is that one is that you have to be pained to be creative,
right.
And the other is that creative types are excitable boys, for lack of a better term, and I just think that both of those things are just so flatly untrue. But I've seen so many people not necessarily like ruin careers, but because I don't know if they were that good to begin with, but like but ruin their lives pursuing like where they're trying to be drug addicts first and musicians second.
Ooh,
yes.
Yeah. Same with comedy. Right? You see
where
it.
It's like the difference between like my friends in my 20s and like, you know, Angus Young is that Angus Young writes guitar riffs when he's blackout drunk. You're just trying to have sex with my girlfriend. It's different. Like
yeah, you're not doing anything genius. You're just being destructive.
Right. It turns out that's not cool at all. It's even less cool than when they did it.
Yeah, and it's sad, and we've seen it in comedy a lot. We do have people that were like really good geniuses, but doing the hard drugs and harming themselves at the same time, and then never made it as big as they should have because of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
But it almost, and I hate this about us, it makes us like disrespect the ones who don't do drugs and like say are clean, like your Nate Bargatze's of the world, where you're like, or like Matt Broussard, where you're like, like why are you so good? Like,
yeah.
Like,
well, it's almost like
he's not.
Good.
Like, he wouldn't be that good if he wasn't dragging this boulder around.
Well, to me, it's like I still have that like that 90s like where like you fucking try hard, where like oh, you're a comedian that shows up on time to meetings. Fuck you. Like you're supposed to make the suits wait. Like if one of us shows up on time, you get all the things. You're fucking it up for everybody. We used to be able to show up whenever we wanted and they had to wait.
Yeah.
But now they're not going to hire someone that rolls out of bed at 2 p.m. because you're there at 8:30, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Of course, I realize that is completely misguided and has probably never been the way that it worked. But in my heart, that's how I want it to be.
But we were told. We were told.
Right.
We were told it was supposed to be a struggle and that also they work for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Turns out no.
No.
Yeah.
Turns out hope your self-produced album does well on Pandora is all we got.
New world. It's a whole new world. Before I forget, I do want to talk about, I want to go back because I fear I may forget, talking about him working with these writers. So I'm just going to read this. It said, Warren served as a musical coordinator and occasional guitarist for the ad hoc rock group called the Rock Bottom Remainders, a collection of writers performing rock and roll standards at book fairs and other events. The group included Stephen King, Dave Barry, Matt Groening, and Amy Tan.
Yes.
Among other popular writers, and it has continued to perform one benefit concert per year since Zevon's death. Where has this been? Like,
it's crazy, right?
Like, what?
Where does Stephen King find the time? Like, how does this guy is a robot? He's mocking the rest of us. My favorite Stephen King quote is something along the lines of it's the usual like writers write, you know, like only amateurs wait for the muse to move move them. You know, like he just wakes up in the morning, writes for 2 hours, and that's it.
And he tweets nonstop. I mean, he's just
he tweets nonstop, and he does these public appearances with George R.R. Martin, who writes Game of Thrones, and it's just hilarious because George R.R. Martin just kind of sits there like in awe of Stephen King because Martin like famously can't finish a fucking book to save his life.
I mean, that's the curse of the fantasy author in general.
Yeah.
We're all just waiting for R.R. Martin to fucking kick it so Neil Stephenson can finish his fucking books.
Well, Stephen King finishes books, but he doesn't give them an ending that anyone's happy with.
That's one of my favorite things about Stephen King, honestly, is like every book of his ends like the Sopranos, where they're like, fuck you, figure it out.
No, you spent 20 pages describing something and then you didn't give me the bow at the end. God damn it.
I think it's so funny that Warren Zevon knew the coolest people in like 9 different professions and was best friends with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that's so wild to me.
A fun hang, you know?
Absolutely, I'm sure.
Yeah. Enough to where people weren't like, I wonder if he was the type of friend where and I know people like this, they're such a good hang until they hit that third drink and then you're like, now we have to wrap it up.
Now it's time.
Because now you
Oh, has Matt had 4 beers? Well, don't leave your girlfriend alone with him now.
Exactly. Do you think, was Zevon that guy?
I don't know.
He was definitely a womanizer. Like he definitely he was married quite a bit, and he was never really faithful. I mean, as you know, guys on the road and performers are. So I don't know if he was like, you know, a wife fucking madman, but he was definitely definitely had the thirst.
Yeah. So I didn't finish that VH1 documentary. The young, gorgeous woman who he's with, I'm guessing that was his girlfriend when he died. Like, who was that?
That was his girlfriend when he passed.
Okay.
Yeah. He had a series of women that he was with. He was with an actress from Knots Landing named Kim Langford for a long time, and they're sort of like seem to be like soulmates. Like I think if that was the great love of his life, I think was the impression that I got. But watching that documentary was truly fascinating, because obviously it's a very, like, he'd been sober for a long time, I think about 20 years when he got the diagnosis. This documentary kind of elides it. It totally skirts the issue. But after the diagnosis, once he made the commitment to record as many songs as he could and finish the album that he was working on, he was writing songs like specifically for the people in his life. He wasn't writing for a wider audience. He was writing like, this is a song for my son. This is a song for my daughter. This is a song for my wife. This is a song for this person. So he was dead focused on that, but he also fell off the wagon in a big way. Like once the diagnosis came down, as you can well imagine, he's like, I got 3 months to live. What is the point? Like, I'm going to start smoking cigarettes again. They're going to start drinking in the studio. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
It's literally, I mean, he's sitting in the studio with Tom Petty with a death sentence. Like, of course he's going to have his last dance with Mary Jane, right?
I mean, that's good. But I mean, do you blame him? I don't.
No.
That's when you try heroin, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you go off the wagon after a terminal cancer diagnosis, I think that's more of just like picking how you're going down.
Yeah.
More than it is like ruining your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the last bit of control you have, I think.
Yeah.
But it was very sweet. He was a really funny guy. Like they showed him like the cover art for the album that was coming out, and his quote was, "I think I look like a baboon from Newcastle trying to get a job in a toothpaste commercial."
Well, we have to talk about, because I was trying to make this connection. Is it a connection everybody already knows? Doesn't he have a song called "Your Shit's Fucked Up"? Like, they use that in Idiocracy when he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Your shit's all fucked up," and I'm just like, "Oh, are they doing Warren Zevon? Is that what that is?"
His last 2 albums seem to be like almost prophetic for what happens in his life.
They really are, right? All the
like
songs that he wrote.
I think it was in The Wind. No, it's not The Wind. It's the one before The Wind, where my ride's here. The last the penultimate song of the album is "I Have to Leave," and the last song is "My Ride's Here." Like, oh Jesus, dude.
It's really great.
I'm surprised there was another album after that one, right? It feels like George Carlin's last, you know what I mean? Like, it's all about everybody dying.
Yeah, exactly. God, I feel like we're ping-ponging all over his life. I feel like Ben has a hold on, let me tell this formula here that I had laid out. But I'm really just ping-ponging everywhere, because I do want to get to the his Letterman.
Yeah. That was another fun part about researching Warren Zevon. It's a great excuse to go down a Letterman rabbit hole. Any excuse to go down the old Letterman rabbit hole is fun for me. But Letterman was a big Warren Zevon fan, because Warren Zevon is acerbic and funny and hilarious. And Paul Schaefer and Warren Zevon were pals. Warren Zevon would fill in for Paul Schaefer when he was going on vacation or going on the road. So Warren Zevon would be like the band leader on the Letterman show. And Letterman was always trying to get him to play, what's the song? The Eves. Oh my God, where's my brain? It's like one of his biggest songs.
Roland.
Help me out, Nate.
Thompson.
No, not Roland the Machine Gunner.
You're talking about Poor Pitiful Me?
Nope, I'm talking about it's Under the Eaves or something. Oh my God, I'm so dumb.
I don't even have that written down as one of his biggest songs.
I don't even have anything to look it up. But either way, Letterman had him on a whole bunch of times throughout his career. Like anytime he had an album to promote, even when he was on the skids and there was really not a whole lot of chance of him selling a lot, Letterman would always have him on. So Warren Zevon always called Letterman the best friend my music ever had. Yeah. And so for his final public performance, Letterman had him on the show as the only guest. Like he came on, he did both panel segments and then the musical segment, and that was his final send off. And Letterman famously asked him, like, well, after your diagnosis, do you know more about death than I do? And Warren Zevon said, not unless you mean that you're supposed to enjoy every sandwich.
And everyone latched on to that. Yeah. How could you not?
Exactly. I want to get shirts printed up that just say enjoy every sandwich.
Yeah. So I was just looking at Wikipedia, and it says that the last night, his final public performance on the Letterman show was Rollin' the Headless Thompson Gunner.
Yes. Yeah, he never performed the song that Letterman was always begging him to perform.
So the song Letterman wanted him to do, he didn't do.
Yeah, he was a bit precious about it because it's got an orchestral arrangement, and he didn't think that the sound was going to be big enough for Teeth. Like, I can't do it. I feel that way because there's, you find different, even though my life is obviously much, 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 much smaller than Warren Zevon's, you find little things to relate to. Like, I'm that way. Like, I'll demur. Like, if there's something I don't want to do, it's like, yeah, I don't think so.
Also, if you're at the point where Letterman's begging you to do anything, your best move is to not do it.
Yeah.
To watch Letterman's reaction, or
no, because then Letterman still wants something from you.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I'd be like, yeah, I'll play the song. Have me on the show, and then I just play a different song. Like, I forgot. I remember now. That was the deal. Next time.
Yeah.
Keep Letterman hungry. I think that's Warren Zevon.
I think it is. What do you have anything else you wanted to say about it, Nate?
I forgot one of the things I wanted to say, and I've been struggling to remember it the whole time, and it has not come to me.
You'll remember it as soon as we
hang up, I'm sure. But I think that's about it. I mean, he reminds me a little bit of John Prine, actually, which I know you guys have done a show about. Just I love songwriters that illuminate the sort of, like, where their songwriting is more descriptive than it is mysterious.
Yeah.
He's one of the former class.
Yeah.
Where his songwriting is amazing, but it's sort of like, instead of me wondering what he was trying to say and trying to puzzle it out, it's more about it illuminates things that I don't think about.
Oh yeah.
For me.
And a life you don't live too.
Right.
Very descriptive storytelling of a life that you can't even connect with, but it's fascinating.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of songwriters leave it so wide open because they want it to reach as wide an audience as possible. Like right. Okay, whatever these words mean, they mean something new to everybody else. I think that's a mistake sometimes. Like, you're right. Like, you got to be specific.
I think that his specificity, not just in lyrics, but in his sort of all of his songwriting, is what prevented him from being as big as he maybe could have.
Yeah.
Like, I think the reason that, like, Bruce Springsteen thinks that Warren Zevon was amazing, but nobody I know has ever heard of him, is sort of because it's dumb songs for smart people, right? Like, that's sort of
like when there's a comedian that everyone say in your town knows is the best, and he's playing to the back of the room, and we all get it, but we kind of know he'll never be huge because the audience is too dumb to get him. You know what I mean? Like, we all have that. I think that's true. I mean, listen, Bootylicious, My Body's Too Bootylicious. Everyone on the fucking planet knows that song because it's fucking dumb. Like,
right.
Smart shit doesn't make it.
Yeah, well, I mean, a good example is Twilight, which I haven't read, but I've read excerpts where the main character is bland enough where any woman can put herself in that character's position.
Yeah.
And that's the success of the books. The same thing with, like, 50 Shades of Grey. It's a fantasy novel. It's like a choose your own adventure where, like, you're the hero because they just don't bother to describe the hero.
Interesting. I mean, it's a good formula marketing wise.
Sure. I mean, there's like, Zevon is definitely someone that played for specific people, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, he's making art, and if you don't get it, that's fine with him, as opposed to like AC/DC, which is a band that I love, but they basically figured out the formula for a hit song, and then once they nailed it down, they just did that for 30 years.
Yeah.
My God, you and my husband can just get a room. My husband has argued. He was in an argument with Rob Mungle, I think, about like the greatest all-time rock band, and Corbin says because it's AC/DC, because
it's absolutely AC/DC,
because they never wrote a love ballad. And he was comparing like some rock. Oh, he was making fun of Led Zeppelin. He's like, he's over here writing about Mordor, and AC/DC is like, you want blood, you got it, and like never wrote a love ballad. And so yeah,
to me, like, this is, I know it's heresy, but I think that The Sword is a better version of Led Zeppelin.
The Sword?
Yeah. It's a metal band that exists now.
Oh, okay.
And like they've got songs that are like have really strong fantasy vibes.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's just like harder. It's just like, like it's got a little less Fleetwood Mac in it, I guess. It's like the best way that I can describe it.
Okay.
I think AC/DC is the best rock band because of Riff Raff.
Okay.
Their first like 3 albums, like, and Powerage and High Voltage it's just so good. And it's not a lyrical thing. It's just like, listen to the opening to Riff Raff, and that guitar lick is maybe the best guitar lick of all time.
Okay.
It's up there with like Can't Get No Satisfaction. Like,
nice.
I mean, it's rock and roll.
I think most rockers agree with you. I don't think you're having to talk a lot of people into this. I think a lot of people agree with you.
Like, I think that a lot of people are weird on AC/DC because we grew up where like Big Balls was the song on the radio.
Yeah.
And that's what we associate with AC/DC. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they were just cashing $1 million checks at that point, which I don't blame them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I always in my head, because I'm a little bit too young for AC/DC. I always lumped them in with like the hair metal that came afterwards. Like AC/DC
really?
was kind of
sure.
Yeah. Like in my head, like there's not a whole lot of difference between AC/DC and Twisted Sister.
Oh,
like
God.
I know that there's
there's
a huge gap now, but when I was a kid, I was just like, yeah, why would I listen to that? Like,
no, that makes sense. I mean, I didn't get into it until college. I had a musician friend, and like Lemmy and AC/DC were like his favorite bands.
That's a good person to like like learn you about AC/DC.
Yeah, he taught me some shit.
Yeah.
About love.
All right. Well, before we get into 6 Degrees of Tommy Stinson with Jeremy Essig, I have a feeling this is going to be an easy one. Do you know what we're about to do? Do you know Jeremy at all? Nate?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. On my screen, you're pointing at Ben, even though I just realized you're pointing at your screen. Oh my God, I'm the dumbest monkey in the world.
There's like,
yeah, Ben, fucking answer. What's your problem? Yes, I know Jeremy.
Okay, cool. So you know what we're about to do. All right, let's all watch it together. Here's 6 Degrees of Tommy Stinson with Jeremy. Oh, before that, I was going to say, I forgot to mention that Warren Zevon's name in the Mafia was Stumpy Zevon.
That's Zevon. Amazing.
Great.
I thought that was amazing. I love these Mafia names. All right, let's see. Let's go.
Hey friends, welcome to a very supergroup laden edition of 6 Degrees, where we're going to connect Warren Zevon to Tommy Stinson in one step using the Hindu Love Gods. Who are the Hindu Love Gods? It's a side project made up of Warren Zevon, along with Bill Berry, Mike Mills, and Peter Buck of REM. And though they had previously recorded a single and played a few times live, the Hindu Love Gods album was the result of a drunken cover session recorded during the making of Zevon's 1987 album, Sentimental Hygiene, an album that featured all 3 REM members as his backing band and even guest vocals from REM singer Michael Stipe. So, reaching back 3 years earlier to Peter Buck's guitar work on the Replacement's I Will Dare, we can connect to Tommy Stinson in one step. But we can also connect in 2 steps if we look at another supergroup bassist Mike Mills was a part of, the Backbeat Band. This band provided the soundtrack for the movie of the same name and featured Mills, Sonic Youth's Thurston Moore, Gumball's Don Fleming, drums from Dave Grohl, and vocals from the Afghan Wigs' Greg Dooley and Soul Asylum's Dave Perner. That now gives us 2 connections to this band, as Stinson was both in Soul Asylum and played with Dave Grohl on Puff Daddy's The All About the Benjamin Shot Collar rock remix. So, Warren Zevon to the Hindu Love Gods to Tommy Stinson. Back to Diana Benn.
Amazing. Yeah.
I like the way when he does the quick kill like that. Easy.
That was awesome. All right, Nate, my favorite part. Do you have a guilty pleasure song?
I do. And right now it is although actually I'm not embarrassed of that one, so I can't use it. My big one right now is Break My Heart by Dua Lipa.
Oh God, you're the second person who has given us one of those, I think. Dua Lipa.
A Dua Lipa song or the same song?
Dua Lipa.
She's amazing.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I have got to get, I do a music podcast and I don't know who any of these new people are. I've got to get out of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, the video for Break My Heart is I don't know, I just love it. It's not like amazing.
Okay.
I just love it.
Oh, I forgot that you were saying that you like a lot of pop music and we spend a lot of time trashing pop music. And I was like, oh, you should defend it.
I mean, the thing is I listen to almost every genre because I don't do talk radio. Like when I'm driving, when I'm on the road, I only listen to music.
Yeah.
So I listen to a pretty amazing amount of music.
That's amazing. Like I listen to either podcasts or First Wave on Sirius XM, and that is it. I don't.
Really? I can't do talk radio. I don't know. It just bothers me.
Well, that's amazing though. I love it that like someone like our age is still listening to new stuff because I'm such an asshole about it. And I know there's good stuff out there. I know there is. I don't want to act like my parents.
The newest song that I found is a cover of a Wilco song.
Ooh, I like Wilco.
By J.C. Brooks and the Uptown Sound.
Okay.
And the song is I Am Trying to Break Your Heart.
Okay.
And it is better than the original.
Oh, I like when that happens.
I much prefer it, I should say.
Okay.
I'm sure someone will be like, there's Wilco fans out there.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check that out. That's really awesome.
All right.
God, I hate to let you go. This has been great. Before we do, Nate, can you promote yourself? Tell our listeners where they can see and hear more of you.
Yeah, I've got an album came out a couple months ago. It's called Coming In Hot, and it is on 800 Pound Gorilla Records. You can listen to it anywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, Pandora. You know, whatever way you listen to stuff, you can find it on there. I'm on Twitter. I'm super funny on social media.
I love it.
A little bit of a Warren Zevon of social media, if I say so myself. Too funny for most people to get it, but really funny. But seriously, the amount of people that don't get that I'm joking when I make posts blows my fucking mind every
Nate,
time.
it's a problem. And it's become like, don't you think it's become a thing in the comedy community? Like some comedians are really kind of pushing for write better and appease the woke crowd. And to me, I'm like, oh God, there's people used to know we were kidding.
Right.
People used
like
to
I'll make a joke about driving drunk, which I don't. Right?
Right.
Obviously. And people are like, you shouldn't do that. Fucking yeah. That's why I'm joking about it and not doing it, you absolute dumb fuck. I apologize.
No.
It's killing me. Like, so I was thinking about, and God, I don't want to name names or tell their joke, but like in the early 2000s at the Laugh Stop, some insanely offensive jokes were winning whole contests. And back then, it's like the audience knew, like in their mind, like that was a fucked up thing to say, but they all collectively understood it's a joke. And we're here in these closed doors of a jokey joke building, just trying to get reactions and laugh. No one gets that anymore. It's killing me. I just can't take it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's you know, for me on social media, it's just when I make up a fake problem to write a joke about it, and then people come into the comments to fix my problem. And I'm like, not a real problem.
Not a real problem.
Not a real thing that exists. Whole thing. Right there. That's it.
Say, like, don't bring logic to a joke party. What are you doing?
Right.
Stop it.
Right.
Nick Swartzen has a great thing about that. Like, he had a joke about feeding his cat diarrhea, and the woman's like, you shouldn't do that to your cat. He's like, it's not a real joke.
It's not. The thing that bothers me is it's not even real hecklers. It's not a guy that thinks he's funnier than you, and once you sit him down, he shuts the fuck up. It's people that are so drunk they don't understand the concept of suspending disbelief anymore.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you say one of the words, like I used to have a joke about trying to date a big girl, and I say earlier that she was tall, not fat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I say big girl later, and one woman loses her shit. And I'm like, why are you mad? And she's like, you can't call people fat. And I'm like, well, you weren't listening to the whole fucking joke.
You didn't.
Very clearly, right? Like just take a minute. There's no one saying that you can't get mad about anything. It's just take a second.
Yeah. Or don't go to a comedy club.
Yeah.
Or don't follow a comedian.
Like
for you.
I posted a dumb joke about how, sorry, I know I'm just eating up so much time.
I'm ranting. I
posted a super dumb joke about how, and I'll just quote it, the generation who thought, fuck yeah, collectible spoons thinks we suck.
I liked it when you said thinks we're soft.
Yeah, I put that on Twitter, and then I changed it on Facebook. But there are a lot of people on Twitter that are like, I collect Starbucks mugs, and I'm like, well, you suck. That's the whole fucking joke. You dumbass. You were born too late, I guess.
Or you're just like, I just want to disable comments. I don't want to you.
Like, I'm not saying that universally every single baby boomer collects spoons here, even in the phrasing of it. What I'm saying is that as a whole, I feel like they were into it. Yeah. That's it, right? Yeah. Like, I've never bought one. Have I been to my parents' friends' houses and seen collections on the wall? Yes.
Yes. The fact that you're
also saying that
explain this is what's wrong with everything.
It's such a problem. Like, you know how often I see stuff and I'm like, and then I just keep going.
Yes.
I feel like these people never write. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
That working at Starbucks is incredibly boring, so of course they misspell your name deliberately just to break up the monotony. You can stop posting pictures of your hilariously misspelled name.
I wish they would write down what they think of your appearance on your Starbucks cup.
Describe them.
Fucking dark glasses guy. Here you go.
Guy with booger.
Spinach in teeth. Here's your latte.
Rude motherfucker. All right. I think we're gonna let you go, even though because this was fun.
This was really fun. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Everybody follow Nate Abshire. He's super funny and super humble on Twitter.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank
bye,
you, Nate.
guys. Don't record.
Nate's fun. I want him to be my new best friend.
I know. I love it when I introduce. I hope you trust me now when I pick someone that you don't know to bring on. That I hope you trust my judgment now that I'm not going to bring on someone that you're like, Diane.
Of course I do. I trust your judgment on all things.
Good. Well, Ben, next week, it's happening. It's happening.
Is it Gigi Allen next week?
We're covering a song by Patreon member and my husband, Corbin Gallagher. We're doing Gigi Allen. I bugged him all week to pick a song, and the titles of every single Gigi Allen song, I was like, I'm not making that the title of my podcast. So the title of the podcast is going to be Gigi Allen. It's not going to be my diarrhea or whatever fucking song he picks for us to cover. Oh God. I'm just glad we're getting it over with.
We're ripping off the Band-Aid.
So there's a and you know, if the listeners, if you're in it, if you're just gonna give it a shot, do what we're about to do. There's a documentary about Gigi Allen on, I think it's Amazon Prime, called Hated, which we're all gonna watch. I have to watch it, and then there is some interesting stuff to come out of it. As vile and horrible as it is, there's some things you're like, this is actually an interesting conversation. So
Yep.
I wish it would work out. I don't know if it can, that all three of us can get together and watch it together, but I don't know. But
We can try.
We can try, but let's watch it and we'll meet up next week. And I am dragging Corbin in by his ears to do this episode with us. I'm not doing this alone. He's making us do it. He's going to be here for it.
We are tying the tooth to the doorknob next week. Here we go. It'll only hurt for a minute, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
This was fun.
Are you ready?
See you next week.
All right.
I'm ready.
And